Today we're going to be working our way through a series of 8 labs. If you haven't gotten it, you need to get this worksheet from Mrs. Widman or from your teacher. So there's 8 different pieces that we're going to go through. So before we get started, take a look at number 1. It says, what does your group think about the word matter? What does it mean? So go through your head and think about all the definitions that you could write down for the word matter. Remember, at any time, if I go faster than you're able to work through the lab, just hit pause so you can finish what you need to finish. We're going to start in on the mini session lab number 1, titled The Bottle and the Balloon. So following our set of directions, which they're looking a little beat up after today, number 1 says that we're going to hold the bottle that has a balloon attached to it, and we're going to place it into our boiling water for approximately 2 minutes. And our job is to keep an eye on the balloon to see how it reacts. So the next step, we're going to take the same bottle, and this time in the sink I have a container of cold water, and we're going to place it over here. And through that process, you can see that, oh goodness, sorry about that. You can see that our balloon even started to suck into the bottle after that cold water. The temperature reading on our hot water is sitting at about 68 degrees Celsius, and our cold water is about 4 degrees Celsius. Now go ahead and finish answering the questions from your worksheet. Question 1, 2, and 3. Remember, pause anytime you need to. So now we're going to move on to station number 2. Station number 2, we're going to be looking at the next series of mini lab. And so you've got a little worksheet that you're going to be filling out today. So this is the one that you're going to be on for this one. So we're going to place into our graduated cylinder 50 milliliters of water. So there's our graduated cylinder with those 50 milliliters. And then our next step, we're going to place this little clay ball into our graduated cylinder, and we're going to record the new amount. And so with the ball in there, it has increased up to 53 milliliters. And so that'll go into the next column. So what you should have is right here, you should have 50 milliliters. Don't forget your labels. Here you would have 53. And now in order to find the last column, it's a subtraction problem. So you're going to take the total of both of them together, subtract the water only, and your difference goes in this column right here. For the next part of the lab, it's going to work exactly the same way. We're going to start with our 50 milliliters, except this time we have a different object that we're going to drop into our graduated cylinder. This time we have a rectangular block. So we're going to put it in there. It's kind of heavy, so we're going to slide it down gently. And now again, we're going to read our new amount. So our new amount is, looks like 60 milliliters right on the button. So 60 milliliters. Make sure that you calculate the final column. And then don't forget to answer question number 2. Our third lab today, the burning candle. We'll head over to this station. We're on tour today. So for our next station, our directions, you'll notice right down below. Now we're going to work on those questions. So I follow my directions from my instruction sheet. So we're going to go ahead and we've got a candle here. And we're going to light this candle. There we go. So it says, what can you see taking place at or near the top of the candle? So we're really talking about right there at our flame. So it's kind of not the best view. I don't know if I can. Interesting online, or on the, there you go, you can kind of see that flame there. And then we're going to place a candle, or we're going to place a beaker over the top of it. Unfortunately, it doesn't have a very good view of this, so we place this over the top, and I'll explain to you what's happening. So the first thing that happened is our flame is actually getting skinnier, and now it's dwindling, and it went out. So it took maybe 5 seconds for it to burn out. So now go ahead and go back through, take a look at your worksheet, and answer those 3 questions. Don't forget, pause the video anytime I'm going faster than you are. I'm going to move on to Lab Station 4. Lab Station 4 is titled Describing Matter. So we have 2 substances that we're going to be looking at today. In class, students were able to look at them using a hand lens tool, but we don't have the ability to really increase the view other than to show it to you closer. So our first substance that we're going to look at is substance number A. And see if I can get it to really zone in on that well. So it's very foamy. If you were to look at it, it's very foamy. Wish I could show that better. You can kind of see the bubbles. There's a lot of air pockets in it. It's white. And it smells a little bit like some sort of cleaner, maybe like a soap, or possibly maybe more like a shaving cream. It's very foamy. Oops. The second item, much easier to see. Here is our second item. This is item B. So you can kind of see some of those properties. Again, texture, color, something that distinguishes it. And then make sure that you go through and you are answering each of the questions on your worksheet. So it says to describe them as best as you can. So try to use some of the examples that I talked about when I showed you them. And then it says, do you think either A or B is a pure substance? Thinking of a pure substance as something that only contains the one item. Moving on, we're going to look at lab number 5 in this case. We have, again, a couple of different chemicals. So in one of our Petri dishes, I'm going to place substance A. And if you look at substance A, It's definitely very, some granules. If I were new to looking at this, I might say, wow, Mrs. Woodman, or this looks a lot like sand. So then our second substance is a blue granule. So there's those blue granules. And so your first task is to look closely at each of those, as close as you can. See if we can get it to focus a little bit better on that. And then to draw a picture of what each of those look like. Now I'm going to add some water to each of those, approximately 20 dropperfuls. So I'm going to add those here, and I'm going to add those here. And then again, I'm looking at any reaction that I see. So I'm looking at a picture of that substance after I've added the water. So again, see if you can look closely. You'll notice that the water has some magnifying properties. Check out the color. Did the color change? Does the look change? And then make sure that you fill out the table and answer question 2 and 3. Lab station number 6 is titled Mixing Liquids. So we have a bottle of liquid here. So here is our bottle of liquid. And it doesn't look very exciting. It just looks like, I don't know, yellow in color and nothing fancy. So our directions are to shake it a couple of times. So we shake it and then we look at it again. So the look of that has most definitely changed. You'll notice it looks like there's almost like sparkly stuff swirling through it. Some other students explained it looked like maybe something you could buy at the store that they call a galaxy. And so for question 1 on your worksheet, it says to write down what you observe. So that's what do you see? And 2, what do you know about the 2 liquids in this bottle? So looking at it, you can see there's some swirling. So although you don't know what's in the bottle, what do you know about what's swirling around? Moving on to lab number 7. That one's titled Floating and Sinking. So for floating and sinking, I have a bucket of water here, and I've got a pan that is squished. So here is my little pan that's squished, and I'm going to place it into the water. And then I've got my next one, so I'm going to also place it into the water. And what we are looking for here based on our instructions is we're looking for how do these react differently. So you can see, it's kind of hard to see, but the one pan is floating on top and the other has sunk to the bottom. So they ask, what did you observe after it was placed in the water, and why do you think they behave differently? Why do you think they behave differently? Moving along, my next one, I've got station number 8, and this is kind of the longest station to work our way through. So at station 8, our directions, we're going to go ahead and we're going to fill the test tube halfway with water. Just like that. And then our next set of directions is to place the thermometer into our test tube, and we need to wait about 30 seconds or so while the thermometer records the temperature. So we'll give it a little bit there. After we've waited maybe a minute, maybe 30 seconds or so, I have a small tablet that's been broken, and I'm going to place this tablet into the test tube. So it looks like right now our temperature reading is about 22 degrees Celsius. So now I'm going to place this tablet into here, and I'm going to watch what happens. So I'm going to come just a little bit closer so you can get a good view of that. So if you haven't done so, make sure you record the reacting tablet, the first temperature reading that I got. Now question 2, what happened after the tablet was added to the water? So take a look. What is happening? What has happened to the tablet? Look at the top. See if you can see well through that. And then the last task is, after everything has taken place here, we're going to be taking a new temperature reading. So we're just waiting to see what happens. I know it's a little difficult to see through there, so I'll make sure and kind of share that with you. So the new temperature reading that I'm getting is, it is lowered. It's right about 20. So 20 degrees Celsius now. Again, it's hard to see that, so make sure and record 20. So the temperature decreased when I put the tablet in there by 2 degrees Celsius. All right, make sure you've gone through and finished everything in your lab packet, and then you can turn that into Mrs. Whitman or Mr. Gibson when you're finished. And then you're going to want to make sure that you get that stapled or taped into your science notebook on page number 7. I repeat, page number 7.